I'm Katie.
I'm Anna.
She's a psychotherapist.
And she runs a photography empire. Together we make music and we podcast
to encourage ourselves
and you
to do the things that scare us most. Welcome back to another episode of the Doing Scary Things podcast. Today we're talking with Natalie Qayed, who is a full-time fitness professional and is opening a brand new cycling studio in East Nashville this month. It was fascinating to hear Natalie talk about all the things that come along with opening a business like this, and I think you're going to find this chat incredibly inspiring. I need to give a big thank you to the folks at the fabulous Russell Hotel in East Nashville for letting us record this episode there. Thank you so much for having us, and if you're looking for a truly unique and epically cool boutique hotel to spend a night at in Nashville, definitely check them out. I also wanted to give a special shout out to Natalie's sister Mina, who was present during this episode and who you'll hear us mention a few times. Mina is a hair and makeup expert here in Nashville, and we'll link to her socials in our show notes so you can check out her awesome work. And now, without further ado, here's our talk with Natalie Qayed. So why don't you go ahead and tell us who you are and what you've got going on?
My name's Natalie Qayed. I am a full-time personal trainer and fitness professional, and I am just on the verge of opening up my very own indoor cycling spin studio in East Nashville, Cycle Haus Nashville. You can follow us on Instagram at Cycle Haus Nashville. Haus is Haus. We're not German. We just liked it. So we're about to open, hopefully in the next 3 weeks. We're just waiting on construction and permitting to finish up, and then we'll be ready to go. So super excited. It's been a lifelong dream of mine. I mean, I started thinking about it about 10 years ago, how someday I'd really want to do this. And with Andrew coming off the road in December after 10 years of him being on the road, it just was the perfect time, and we decided to go for it. So we're going.
Yes.
Can't stop now.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I'm really excited.
So the idea came 10 years ago. So what has that process been like from then to now?
So a lot of people will tell you with indoor cycling or taking spin classes, there's two types of people. There's you either love it and it becomes your gospel, or you're like, I took it one time in 1994 and it bruised my butt cheeks and I never came back. If I could tell you guys how many people have come to me and said, I took a spin class in college and I never took another one because it bruised my butt. I'm like, just like with everything, you gotta keep going, gotta wear into it. So actually, my sister went with me to our first spin class, and about 3 songs in, I was like, oh, this is the best thing I've ever done. And when we left, I said, did you just love that? And she's like, not really. No. And I was like, oh, you didn't? And she's like, no, it was her. And I actually went up to the instructor. I was not working in fitness yet. I actually have a degree in fashion from the Fashion Institute of Design in San Francisco. And I was working for a fashion company at the time. And I was like, man, that was like, there was Jesus in that room. I loved that. And so I went up to the instructor after class and I said, how do you become a spin instructor? I'll never forget. Her name was Allie. And she said, oh, do you have a certification to teach fitness? I was like, no. And she goes, oh, do you spin often? I go, no, this was my very first class. And she goes, this was your first class and you already know that you want to teach spin? I was like, sure do. Yeah, I sure do. And she was like, okay. And she went and got a Post-it and wrote down for me the organization that you get certified in group fitness through and how you do it. And really the rest is history. So we're from California. We moved here. We moved to Nashville almost 6 years ago. And it was rough. The first couple years we moved here, I was like, Lord, what are we doing here? Why are we here? Why am I by myself? Why isn't my family coming? They live here now.
He's like, hold on.
Yeah, he's like, just hold on. Give me just a second. And I was so miserable. I was working for a company that I didn't love. And I was just trying to grasp that. Really, I spent my first 2 years living here just figuring out how to get home. Like, when do I get to go home? This can't be right. Aww. And it was some major character building years for sure. And I went on the road with Disciple for a few years, which was the coolest. It was the best. And then what happened was we were home one summer for like a summer break off tour. And I was like, remember when I used to work in fitness for all those years? Like, what am I doing? And I always wanted to get back into it. But with personal training and group exercise, it's not really the kind of thing you can leave for months at a time.
Right.
So I was like, all right, well, I got to go do this. So I applied to personal train and teach spin at the East Nashville YMCA 4 years ago. They hired me knowing that I was a tour manager and really gave me my first spin classes in Nashville. And I taught 5-6 a week, every week for years. And then one day I was like, okay, let's go. I just woke up one morning. I was like, let's go. This is it. I've got to do this now. I'm never going to do this. So that's how Cycle Haus came. And that was last July.
Wow.
I sat down with my broker for the first time and was like, find me a spot. Let's go.
Wow.
So yeah, It was cool.
Did you have a broker before that?
No, I tried to do it by myself.
Okay.
A couple years before, when I was still touring, I thought, how much does it even cost to rent space in East Nashville? Like, how do you even do it? So I was calling property managers on my own, and they were like, you're so funny. Who are you? And why are you meeting us by yourself? So I would just like go to locations, and I was like, hi, I want to open a spin studio. And none of them knew what that was. They're like, what are you doing there? And until this day, people still go like, so it's a bike store? You guys sell mountain bikes?
Love it.
No, you sell Pelotons. No, and I'm like, no, none of those things.
Yeah.
They don't know what it is.
Spin your own yarn?
Yeah, what are you spinning? And so it was just one of those things where I was like, I'm going to have to really find a team of people to like help me, because this is not doing it on my own. So that lasted like 6 months. I looked at locations here and there and just kind of whatever. And then it wasn't until last July I like got with a team of professionals and started the actual process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Well, yeah, because I just imagine, I know I wouldn't have known how to start that, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So that's so interesting that you just started calling people and working your way through that.
Yeah. It sounds like there's so many things that you were like, well, I don't even know how that works. I'm going to go figure it out.
Yeah, I love that Richard Branson quote, and I say it all the time. It's the say yes first and then figure out how to do it later. That's kind of how I run like my entire life. And with the spin studio, I was like, well, this spot's cool, and there's a phone number on the window for the guy who's renting it. So like, let me call and just find out. And that was how I kind of got my feet wet with the real estate in that neighborhood and the commercial real estate, and just kind of figuring out how much do they charge per square foot? Like, do they... A lot of places turned me down because they wanted national chains. They wanted a Starbucks or an AT&T. And I was like, somebody please, like, I swear this is a good idea. I promise I know what I'm doing. And a lot of them required really thorough professional resumes from me to make sure I wasn't like a restaurant owner that just decided to open a gym. And I had to bring my certifications to the meetings and show them my background in fitness to make them be like, oh, okay.
You're legit.
She knows what she's doing. So it was crazy, and every step of this process has been legitimately crazy. Leasing bikes and locations and signage and social media. I didn't know how to do any of it. I just was like, okay, well, somebody knows how to do this, so let me listen to their podcast really quick. Let me read their blog, right?
Yes.
That's how we research things now.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And I can't tell you how many things I learned by just listening to other entrepreneurs' podcasts and reading their blogs and reading articles. And I just kept saying, well, if all of these people can do it, then surely I can do it. Was kind of my like attitude, and just never looked back.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Was there any specific task like that really held you up and you thought, you know, I'm not sure? Like, it just
I've never not been sure.
Okay.
I've been scared, and I've been real anxious and real depressed sometimes, but I've never not known that this was what God wanted for me. Mm-hmm. And anytime I started having those moments of just like a little self-doubt trickling in, God would send me one of my writers or one of the people who I've trained to tell me what an impact I was making on them. And that would remind me, okay, this is why I'm doing it. Like, keep your head down, keep hustling. I can't tell you how many days that happened where I'd be like, I'd tell Andrew or one of my sisters, I'd be like, what am I doing? This is so hard. This is so hard. And then like, I'd get a message on Instagram from someone who said, I took your class for the first time last week and I've spun every day since. Like, thank you. And I'm like, okay, that's where God shows up for me.
Yeah.
And other people almost always. And so that's really what's been keeping me going. Yeah. For sure.
Being sure and being scared are different things.
Oh, sure. You can be so sure and so terrified at the same time.
Yeah.
100%. Because I am every day.
Yeah.
Positive and terrified every day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Love it. And I love what you said about, you know, you would have moments where you did go to family and you're like, wait, really? Am I still on track? You know? And I think that's so important to realize, because so much of what we tell people is like, you know, you may wake up and be like, what am I doing? And that's okay. Like,
just don't stop doing it.
Yes. I want to like normalize that feeling because I think everybody feels that way a lot.
Yeah. And one thing that like drives me crazy and has been driving me crazy in the process is So I love social media. I'm a person, some people are like, oh, I just hate it, but I just use it to run my business. No, I love it. I love the connection. I love how many people you can reach at once. The only reason I was able to become a full-time personal trainer in a town where I knew nobody is because I added people on Instagram.
Right.
Hashtag fitness Nashville. Okay.
Right.
Hi, let's all be friends.
Perfect.
And the one thing that you hear on social media constantly from, I don't know if it's entrepreneurs or fake entrepreneurs that say, celebrate all the small victories. Okay, what? When you're knee deep in the stress and the anxiety and the freak out, you're not celebrating anything. You're just hoping. You're like, okay, just hit that hurdle. What's the next thing?
Right.
And I beat myself up over it, y'all, so many times where I was like, should I be like taking myself out for an ice cream? Like, should I be like jumping up and down in the living room? It'd be like one of these huge milestones on my to-do list would get checked off and everybody around me was jumping up and down and I was like, okay, what's the next thing on the list?
Yeah.
And I want to just say to anybody who's making that leap and starting their own business or going for the dream, if your body and your mind and your inner emotion does not feel like celebrating and just want to move on to the next thing, that's okay. Mm-hmm. You don't have to be mad at yourself for not being happy all the time.
Yeah.
This is not, nobody said this was enjoyable. Nobody said chasing the dream was going to be fun.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right? Mm-hmm. It can be fun, but nobody said go do your thing and while you're there, you should be having the best time of your life because it's not the best time of your life. It's not at all. And I remember I would be so down on myself and so mad at myself daily because my husband or my family would be like, oh my gosh, you signed a lease. Congratulations. How do you feel? And I'd be like, okay, yeah, cool. Okay, what else do we have to do today? You just kind of like work yourself through it. Yeah. So that's one of the things that drives me crazy about the process is somewhere along the line, someone told you it's supposed to be fun.
Yeah.
And it's not fun.
Yeah, I think that's a good reminder. Also, I think it's just normal as humans it's okay to feel all the emotions, maybe it can be fun and terrifying at the same time.
Right.
Or, also people just have very different personalities, so you can't always compare to somebody else's journey.
Yeah,
totally.
You shouldn't ever.
Yeah.
Yeah. The overall pursuit of it is, exciting and fulfilling, but that doesn't mean it's like every step is yay. Yeah. Like rainbows and unicorns. Like, no, it's stressful because the more even in my own experience, I'm thinking, wow, the more I sort of lean into it and check things off the list that are, putting me towards my goal, the more invested I am. So the higher the stakes are.
Absolutely.
So the potential for stress and anxiety is higher and higher in a way. And yet what you're saying too is also true that there's a big mixed bag of emotions in there for me. It is exciting and great, but it's oh my gosh, it's ratcheting up, as you go down that list. And
totally.
Yeah. I relate to that a lot too. Just I get focused and I'm no, I don't want to I have my blinders on. I need to keep going.
Yeah. Head down. I always tell them head down.
Yeah.
Keep walking, keep going, keep trying. No's are okay. Yeah. Keep going. Ask somebody else. Keep going. Yeah. And there's, lots of days where I've gotten no's or, we didn't get approved for financing on something or whatever, where I've sat down and gone, okay, is this God telling me that this is not for me? Or is this God finding out how hard I'm willing to fight for this? And every single time I was like, I'm going to fight for this because I know I'm positive. I'm scared and I'm so positive. So scared every day. Being scared is weird because you're like, I'm doing this to myself. Right?
Self-inflicted.
You're like, I could just not be scared tomorrow really easily, but can't do that because we're here now.
Right.
Mm-hmm. When we signed the lease, I remember I cried while I was signing it, and not because it wasn't necessary. It was happy tears, of course, but it was that release where I was like, oh my gosh, we found a location. We looked for 9 months. Okay, we found the location. We got it. Everybody was able to agree to all these terms. And I remember I signed it, and then I closed my computer, and Andrew was like, do you want to go grab dinner? Do you want to do something? And I was like, oh no, I've got clients coming in 5 minutes. What do you mean? And he was like, shouldn't we? What? And I was like, cool, thanks, babe, but no, gotta go, and you just keep moving. And later I beat myself up over it. Should I have canceled the rest of my night and gone and celebrated that? And then I was like, no, but exactly what you said. The minute I signed that, It's a 5-year lease. The stakes just went way up and the stress level just went way up because now you can't turn back.
Right.
So, yeah. So
I just took a huge deep breath when you said 5 years.
Yeah. You lock yourself in and you go, okay.
Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh.
And, the lease is so funny because then at the end you sign for a additional 5-year contingency on whatever. And they're like, yeah, do you want to just sign it for the next 5 years for the renewal? And I'm like, part of you wants to be so confident. You're like, yeah, 10 years. Yeah. And the other part, you're like, are people going to ride bikes in 10 years?
Right.
Well, they've been riding them for 100, but you're like,
is East Nashville still going to be a thing?
What's going to happen to us? Like, I don't even know. With what they're telling us is happening with global warming. Do I sign a 10-year lease? Are people riding? Like, is there oxygen in 10 years? Like, I don't even know.
We're going to be underground. We're going to need to look into that.
Maybe we put, bikes in a bunker. I don't know. Maybe that's the next studio name.
That's catchy.
Bikes in a bunker. That's terrifying. I'm scared. So I don't know. But they ask you those questions. They're like, how long do you want your term lease to be for your bike lease? And you're like, what's the quickest one? Yeah. Because I don't know.
Yeah.
What's going to happen. You just never can know.
Yeah. And it's so many decisions, right? Just one after the other.
Constant. All day. Your email's just flooded with emails all day of people asking you to make decisions on stuff. And you're like, I just need a nap so bad. Like now.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So I hate to admit it, never taken a spin class.
Okay.
Anna, they're so fun.
You're making me want to really bad.
Yeah.
So there's that. But I'm curious, maybe this is my question of my ignorance of having never taken one, but I'm curious, if there are parallels, in sort of your determination and even being locked in, is there a parallel in the experience of, I don't know, who you are and how you show up in a spin class to this overall process? Can you draw some of those parallels?
Yeah. Not a single ounce of quitter in me ever. Never has been. And, the reason why I was so drawn to spin is because I tell my classes all the time, okay, class is starting, can't leave now. I say it as a joke. I always say, if you leave now, everyone's going to watch you walk out. So just chill out. And the coolest thing about spin is nobody knows how hard you're working because you turn the knob for your resistance. So if I'm like, okay, reach down and give me 5 more or whatever, and you don't. That's between you and your bike. And I say that constantly. So for myself, if I'm sitting on the bike that night and I'm having a shit week and I'm like, everybody else thinks we're at this number, but I'm going to just back it off at this number because that's what feels right for me. You can do that. And I think this whole process of opening the spin studio is because I didn't franchise and I didn't take on any investors. If it doesn't feel right for me, it doesn't happen. And sometimes what might be the best decision for the studio is not the best decision for my mental health. So we don't do it. And that's the same thing with spin is if you reach down and your legs are like, we don't want this, then you just don't do it. And nobody knows the difference between you and the bike. That's a huge piece of the puzzle. The other piece of the puzzle is the room's pitch black. You can't see anybody else. They can't see you. Nobody's judging. It's not like a different type of, fitness class or yoga class where you're literally staring at the person in front of you. Yeah. It's literally black in there.
Yeah.
I'm the closest to God on the spin bike, 100%. Sometimes I'll be in the middle of a class and I'll find myself praying and I'm like, oh crap, how long has it been since I've given them a direction? I'm like, it's the song over? And I'm like, wow, guys, that was really good. Okay. And I'm like, crap, I didn't even tell them to do anything for a whole song. But when you do that, other people can feel that energy. The energy in a good spin class is like nothing else, y'all. It's like, I've never done drugs, but I can imagine.
Yeah.
I can imagine the endorphin level that pumps through you. Obviously, you can tell I like it. You have other people come in and they're like, hi, I almost died. Goodbye, and I will never see you again. And I'm like, thanks for your time. Thank you so much. We really appreciate your time.
Yeah.
And then there's people who come up to me and they're like, when do you teach again? Because they felt the fire. They felt it. I hope when you come, you'll feel it.
Yeah.
It's a really cool thing. The other thing is this is maybe too deep into the situation, but I have terrible vertigo. I've had it since I was 12.
Oh.
And you can't fall off a spin bike because you're clipped in.
Yeah.
And so I'll be having like a minor dizzy spell in class. And as long as I can just keep my feet clipped in, I can't fall off the bike.
Awesome.
And so I think that sometimes I'm always like, you're fine, you're clipped in. You're fine, you're clipped in. And so that kind of like resonates with me on a daily basis.
Yeah.
And I cannot wait to clip in. I cannot wait to clip other people in.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think the parallels are definitely like both life and starting a business and taking a spin class, they're both too hard. Yeah. But you're going to get through both of them.
Yeah.
And when you're on the other side of them, you're like, oh, that was too hard. But I like survived.
Yeah.
It's a survival thing. Both of them are. And a lot of people feel that way about CrossFit or yoga or Pilates. Totally. They're like, oh, it's the hardest thing ever. If that's what your deal is, then please go do it. Whatever movement feels good for you.
Yeah.
You know?
Right. I was thinking that probably applies across the board in fitness. And like you were saying earlier, like you might leave a little bruised the first time. You got to come back.
You got to come back. You got to get those booty calluses working. Like your butt cheeks. I always tell people your butt cheeks will not be sore forever. Like if you do it once or twice a week, I haven't had sore butt cheeks in 10 years. Like I promise nothing. And spin is great for rehab. So people who are coming off of knee surgeries or hip surgeries are great because there's no impact. You can turn it all the way down and sit, you know, if you don't want to stand out of the saddle to ride. So I recommend it to everybody. But for instance, sorry y'all, I hate yoga. People are like, just slow down and I'm like, okay, groceries, and then I gotta go here. Did I pay that?
I want to go fast.
I want to go fast. Yeah. My meditation happens like during cardio. I call my rides cardio meditation.
Yeah.
Because it's like the hustle, and then when you're done, you're like, oh, well, that's better.
Yeah.
That's how I feel after every class, even if I teach 3 that day. Whereas like yoga, I'm like more stressed out when I leave because I can't disconnect, which I'm sure there's a lot of people listening. They're like, she needs to meditate and work on disconnect. Like I can't. Yeah. So, but yeah, it's across the board for sure. Everybody's got a different level of hard.
Sure.
Yeah. And a different definition of hard. You know, I think that's really interesting because those are probably, I would imagine, like I said, I haven't taken a spin class yet, but I have ridden bikes before. Yeah. But you know, it's like, those are very different, like, somatic experiences, but they both revolve around your center in a way, you know? And it's like, of course there's different avenues to that. Of course there's different releases and things that you need, and everybody is different. So I love that. I just love that. There's just room for everybody. And
there's room for everybody.
That's hope for other people who don't like really connect well with yoga or something like that, that ask you to slow down and ask you to tune inside. Like you can also tune inside when you're doing cardio, and it's a different way.
And maybe you're exercising because you don't want to tune inside. Yeah. Maybe you spent all damn day tuning inside.
Yeah,
and
you're
you need
expressing
to just,
out. Yeah.
Yeah, and I tell people in my classes all the time, I say, this is your safe place. Don't wish the time away is my number one thing I say to every single class. If you've checked your screen on your bike 12 times and counted down how many more minutes we could possibly have left, stop doing that. This is your safe space. Yeah. You have to go back out into the real world in 19 minutes and you'll wish you were back in here. Yeah. So like take the time. Maybe you've spent the entire day taking directions from your boss or your kids or your family, and this is the one place you get to come in and just let it go. And some people feel that way about weightlifting or running. Runners. Oh my gosh.
Totally.
The stories I hear from runners about like the release, I wish I knew what that was like, because please, Lord Jesus.
Yes.
2 miles. I'm like, okay, back to the house. Bye. Yeah. But with spin, I can spin like hard for an hour and feel like I napped. I feel that good after. Yeah.
That's amazing.
So I can't wait for you to come ride.
I know, right?
You're going to love it.
Hurry up and open.
It's something about, like you mentioned, the lights off and the music, and I'm sure you have like the best playlist, but it really is magical. You know, you really can like disconnect in a way. Oh my gosh, yes.
I love that you feel that way.
We will have to do like a Doing Scary Things field trip.
Yeah.
Field trip. Yeah. And go like, that would be so fun.
And behind the scenes. Oh my gosh, you guys
we'll see if Anna dies.
Yeah. No, Anna doesn't die. That's not the ending.
You might get butt bruises, but that's the worst.
Yeah, the next day you'll go to like sit down and you're like, oh, that's what she was talking about.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
you'll know before the next day.
I was a horseback rider for a long time.
Oh, okay.
So like,
so maybe I'm already
familiar.
broken.
I might be. Yeah.
Your butt is already conditioned.
It's already broken. Perfect.
My goal is to just have calluses covering every square inch of my body.
Yeah.
So
that's a good goal. Yes.
Oh my God. Working on the finger ones right now.
Yes.
Can work on the butt ones.
Because that means you worked hard, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Totally.
I love it.
Okay, so what day did you say you're trying to open?
That's all contingent on construction. And the biggest thing is our contractors working as fast as they can. But the city has to give us those final certificates of occupancy before you can open. And if they call me at noon on a Monday, we're opening on Tuesday morning. Yes. Like I'm opening. My staff is hired.
Nice.
We just had our first big staff meeting this weekend with all of our instructors. It was a blast. Everybody just loved each other. It was really good. And they're all ready. They're like ready to get on the bike. So do some instructor training. ICG, who's our bike company, is sending a pro out in September to train all of the girls on these consoles specifically and certify them. So every one of my instructors will be certified on our bikes. So I'm certified on our bikes already, but I'm actually going to redo it because you can always learn something, you know?
Of course.
So I'm so excited.
Okay, I just want to go back a minute. Did you tell me that you guys are just all in on this on your own? No investors?
Yeah.
Talk about that.
Yeah, so a family member, so in order to get a small business loan, if you have to have a certain amount of money in your account. So a family member of mine gave me the rest that I needed. So if you want to count him as an investor, shout out to my grandpa. Hey Papa, awesome. Who was very eager and willing to do that for me. But aside from that, we have no franchise and no large investors. The greatest part about that is I don't have anyone to pay back other than my dear old grandpa, who is like, whatever, get out of here, you know? So I will, because it's a principal thing, but that's just cool.
Yeah.
A lot of my thinking about this was, do I want a franchise? There's so many great cycling franchises. And then it kept coming back to, I'm the boss of me. And not a single one of these people are going to tell me who I can hire and how I can ride and the music that we can play, which I'm not hating, because those work. They work.
Yeah.
The major cycling franchises in the country, they work. They crush it. So I didn't think it was a matter of, not doing it because I didn't think it would work. But I don't want anyone to tell me what to do. This is my baby. And it feels good to be like, I don't have anyone to pay back except for the Small Business Association. Shout out. Thanks for all the small business loans you give out to people all the time.
Yeah.
And, just paying my instructors and just doing it and not having to wear uniforms or pick colors, or you just get to be you all the time.
Autonomous, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So great. So that helps me sleep at night. It would have been really nice to be able to have a franchise come in and set you all up and get you your permits and just give you the keys, but that's not my reality. Yeah. So I know that in a few years from now, I'll be very happy I went this direction.
Well, it sounds like even your attitude towards, the people in your class is show up and be yourself, show up and take what you need.
Yeah.
And so I think it's really cool that on this larger level, you're setting the tone for that.
Yeah.
You're approaching all of it that way.
That was really important to me when I was hiring instructors. I had auditioned a lot of instructors, and originally I was only going to take 2 or 3, and I ended up hiring 5 because I couldn't leave without a few of them. And if you look at our instructor lineup, we don't look like a bunch of Barbie doll, which again, nothing wrong, not hating. We don't look like a bunch of 6-pack Barbie doll instructors or personal trainers. We look like real life people.
Yeah.
And I could not be more proud of that. We've got every shape, size, color, height. We've got them all. And I could not be more stoked, because there's nothing worse than walking into a gym and not seeing anybody that looks like you or anybody that you can relate with and be like, well, I don't belong here. And I wanted so much for this to be such a safe community space that people could look at our socials or look at our instructors and be like, oh, that girl kind of looks like me, or, oh, she looks fun. And I think especially as women, we crave that in an environment where we're already uncomfortable. It doesn't matter if you've taken 100 spin classes. You're already uncomfortable. You're driving there and everyone, oh my God, why am I going to this? So to walk in and see somebody that maybe you can identify with was so important to me. So when the auditions started rolling in, I was like, she's perfect for that person. She's perfect for that person. And we ended up getting really lucky. Our instructors are going to be the best. I can't wait. They're the best.
Well, maybe we'll have to take 6 classes. Try them all out.
You'll love it. Yeah,
offer a
for everybody.
Platter of the instructors.
Well, the first 3 days we open, we're planning on doing 3 full days of free rides.
Wow.
So you can literally come in and try every single instructor if you want to.
That's awesome.
Obviously, everybody will have a favorite and continue to ride with their favorite, or maybe their couple favorites, which is totally fine with me too. But I would never want anybody to come in and be like, well, I didn't get a chance to try everybody and whatever. So we're doing 3 full days of free rides.
Wow.
I'm so stoked.
Okay, I'm canceling all my plans.
I know, right?
September. Just
come
keep it
try
open.
Everybody. Yeah, I can't wait. It's going to be the best.
That's awesome.
Yes. Faithful, God-fearing Natalie just hopes that my business is paying for itself and paying me, and that people are coming in to ride and that no one's bored of us. capitalist community type, but not capitalist community, what do you call it? Like
goal driven,
money driven.
Yeah,
I want 5 studios. I don't know where they are, but I want them. I want to be able to bounce around every couple weeks to my different studio and teach a couple rides and check on my employees and train my instructors. My life dream, if we're going full life dream,
do it.
We are.
Full life dream. And I don't know if this is 5 years from now or 20 years from now or whatever it is. I'd like to have enough locations where I don't have to live any specific place. I want to live in New York for a week a month. I want to live in Phoenix, Arizona for a week a month. I want to go back home to San Jose in California. My best friend, Sarah Otto, shout out. I literally already told her that like the second I can hire real like corporate level employees and not whatever, she could just come and open up studios for me. And I would just be in charge of my instructors and getting people to be the best riders that they can be. My sister Jenna is our studio manager, and I want her to have studio managing so cut in her sleep that she can go and run multiple studios for me from one spot. She can live wherever she wants. That's like the big wild life dream, is to just have a team of all my best friends and family and multiple locations and just crushing the spin game. It legitimately makes me so happy. Riding makes me so happy. Instructing makes me so happy. There's nothing on earth that brings me more full-on joy than doing that. So I can't imagine that like my big life dream could be anything other than that.
Yeah.
You know? But if in 5 years we're hanging out and I'm like, yeah, we still got our one location and it's paying for itself and everything's cool, there won't be a bone in my body that's not stoked on that either.
Yeah. It's still a really good place to be.
Yeah. My little fun story, my niece, who's just the light of our entire life. She was here for the summer. She lives in San Jose. She's 10. She just turned 10. And she was laying in bed with me or watching TV. And she said, she's a little wild. She said, Auntie, what did you leave me in your will? And I was like,
it's good to be prepared.
What? I said, what? And she's like, well, what did you leave for me in your will? And I go, I don't have a will. And she goes, what are you planning to leave me?
Let me be clear.
What a
and
planner.
I like pause for a second. I go, what do you want? And she goes, I want Cycle Haus. And I paused and I was like, oh, we're doing something right. And I said, okay. And she goes, and if there's multiple, I want all of them. And she just kept staring at the TV. She was laying on my shoulder. And I just go, okay. I literally told her, fine. And it was like the proudest moment of my entire life. I'm like, okay, next line of moguls coming in. Next little entrepreneur. We come from entrepreneurs. Our dad, my grandpa, everybody owns their own businesses. And so my dad used to tell me when I was a kid all the time, like, never work for anybody else. Don't do it. He's like, my dad was really thick accent, but he'd always say, you have to ask people if you can be sick for the day. You have to call somebody and ask them, can you go on vacation? Don't do it.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, that's a weird thing to say. But I'm like 9. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, now you get it.
He really instilled those like entrepreneurial values in me really young. And now as an adult, I'm like, oh, I know exactly what he means.
Yeah.
That's great for a lot of people, but it's just not right for me.
Yeah.
I love it. I love what you said about, what an example you've already set for your niece, that like...
They're watching.
Yeah, 10-year-old girls are growing up saying like, of course, I'm going to own all of those and whatever else, I want to do. So
and who knows, maybe by the time she graduates high school, there will be a position for her at the company, like somewhere. I mean, I'll hire her to do something. God, whatever what do you want to do?
Yeah.
I love her so much. The biggest, hardest part, and the part that scares me the most, is being like, I'm such a control freak. I would not consider myself type A, but I would consider myself like a complete alpha female. And when you have these big goals, you have to turn your dream over to a bunch of people.
Yeah.
You can't, the thing you always hear, like, if you want it, go out and get it. Well, that only takes you so far. I'm not a construction worker. I can't build my own studio. I'm not the permits guy at Codes. I can't come in and sign off my electrical. I'm not the bike company. I can't approve myself for financing for bikes. You have to literally trust strangers with your dreams. That's awful. It's awful.
Yeah.
You get really lucky and you have a group of strangers that's like, cool, yeah, we got you. But you have to remember that it's not their dream.
Right.
Their job is to just do their job, get the checklist done. The great people at the bank, they're just there to like send your stuff to underwriting and hope it gets approved. They don't have any attachment to you or relationship to you where they feel obligated to help you become a studio owner. Sure. And so I don't want to sound like this, that I make easy. I'm completely self-confident, and I'm extremely confident in my ability to make sure that if I say I'm going to get it done, I'm going to get it done. But that you can only take that so far until you have to hand it off to someone else. And that's the worst part.
Yeah. Well, it makes me think too, like our dreams grow and evolve over our lives. And I think it sounds like even like with your instructors, for example, you have found the intersection of your dream and their dream. You know, like maybe their dream right now is to be an instructor at your studio.
Which is mind blowing.
Yeah.
It was my dream before, and now it's theirs, and I was able to give that to people. And calling the girls that we chose and giving them the offer, I did not realize was going to be such an emotional phone call. I was like, oh yeah, I'll just call her and let her know. And then like they cry, or they're like saying thank you so many times you can't even say you're welcome enough time. Wow. And you're like, oh, the first girl I called, I was not prepared. I just was like sitting on my porch with my laptop. I was like, oh, I'll call her. And when I got off the phone, I was like, oh, I think I need to be more emotionally prepared, to be more emotionally available for them. Because I don't want to sound like I'm like, yeah, oh my God, of course. Yes. Can't wait. So good. Okay, bye. That's how I talk. You know? And you're like, oh, they were just having this like life-changing moment. And I'm like, cool, bye. Like, that's hilarious. So after I got off the phone with the first one, I was like, oh, I need to come up with like a better way to offer them the position that's not just like, hey, so cool, great, audition was great, cool. Like, you have to like meet them where they are.
Good self-awareness. Good.
Yeah, I got off the phone with the first one and I was like, okay, this is cool for people. Okay. Yeah. Not just for me. Okay. Cool.
Yes. Yeah. It's a big deal.
Yes. I love our team. I just cannot wait.
That's awesome.
There's our go.
So I'm sure your story is so inspiring to so many people. What would you say to people who are maybe scared to take the first step or not sure of the next step? Any advice?
Gary Vee always says when people ask him like what his major motivation is, he always says, I'm going to die someday. And the first time I heard that, I was like, oh, that can make you go one of both ways, right? You could go the way, well, we're all going to die, so let's just live it and just do whatever we got to do. And then there's the like, that is an absolute thing that is going to happen. I am going to die someday. I better do this now. I better do this now person. Yeah. The whole like concept of, I don't really care too much about the leaving a legacy or like, what are people going to remember you for?
Your niece cares.
My niece cares.
She's like, give me that cycle house.
I couldn't have been more proud. I was like annoyed and so proud. I was like, what? Yes, girl.
Yeah.
Love her.
But that's not super motivating to you.
No.
Right?
Yeah. And so I was like, oh, death is motivational.
Yeah.
Like dying is, if that doesn't motivate you, I really don't know what will. So if you're having those moments where you're like, I can't do this, just remember, if someone else has done it before you, you can absolutely do it, and then you're going to die, so hurry up. Hurry up. It could be tomorrow.
I love that you said that. I talk about death quite a bit. I sort of took a left turn at about 30 years old where I was totally starting several new projects. And one thing I was visualizing constantly was 30 seems too late sometimes. People probably, of all ages could maybe relate to that. Maybe I'm 60 and I don't know if I can do this, now. And what I would just constantly try to remind myself is, well, I'm not 90 and I'm not dead, and like in 10 years, will I wish I had started today, or will I just, be in the same place? Yeah. That's kind of the choice. And I feel like that is really motivational.
Have you seen that list of it's all these celebrities and how old they were when they were doing other stuff? Tina Fey was 33 working at the front desk at the YMCA.
Oh my gosh.
Mm-hmm. And I'm 33 and I worked at the YMCA. So that was my, Oprah. Oprah was 40 something before she got her first on air. So whatever.
I love that list so much. I literally have chills all over my body because it's so many actors that you don't think about. Yeah. It's like they were 40 before they got their first role. I think, we're in Nashville. The dude on the Nashville show, what is his name? Chuck something. I'm so sorry. He plays Deacon. I'm pretty sure he was in his 40s before he got that role. And now that's what he's known for, And it's like, it's so hard to remember that when you are at, speaking of Thanksgiving, or when you're, when people are like, wait, what do you do? Mm-hmm. Like, isn't it time to kind of wrap that up? Isn't it time to like...
Those are people who never lived their dream, and they don't want you to either.
Yeah.
We're not worried about them.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a great point, is like, if that is all you're hearing and focusing on, like, let's make new friends.
Yeah, Gary always says, make new friends for sure. Gary always says, if you're 30, you've got probably 50 more years.
Yeah.
That's like, when you think about it like that, you're like, okay, if I'm going to live till I'm 80, which most people do, God willing, you're fortunate enough, like, and you're 30, you have 50 years to do what you want to do.
Yeah, you're really just beginning.
You're just figure it out. And, we get so much pressure in our 20s. You're supposed to, in your 20s, you're supposed to graduate college and get married and start your family and find your career. And it's like, who says? The other thing I told my sister Jenna this the other day is our parents' generation was the last generation of people who maybe college, maybe not, went and got a job, stayed there for 40 years and retired.
Right.
I read a statistic the other day. It said the average person in our age group will change careers 10 full times in their lifetime before they retire. Yeah. Not just 10 companies, change careers 10 full times. So it made me want to go back and think like, okay, well, I've already been in the fashion industry and worked for my dream company. I worked for Betsy Johnson for years and years out of college. Awesome. Yeah, it was the coolest experience ever. Worked for Betsy. So I've already done that. I've already done fitness. I'm that by the time I was 27, I was already doing fitness full time. Done that. I've been a tour manager. I still manage Disciple, do all their tour coordinating. Those are 3 full career changes, and I've only been out of college for 10 years. Yeah, less than 10 years.
Just starting, yeah.
So that's stupid.
Yeah.
You don't have to. If you're in a company right now that you hate and it's what you went to school for, and you're thinking, well, I have to do this. This is what I went to school for. No, you do not. Go do something else.
Yeah.
So many companies will hire people with 0 experience in a certain field. Google, Amazon, Apple, all those companies will hire contractors into positions that don't even have college degrees if they feel like you're a good fit for that spot. Mm-hmm. Go do something. You don't have to do what you're doing right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Really.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Yes.
I love that so much. And I think there's something to be said for, some people don't know that, mm-hmm. Some people don't know that they can change mm-hmm. or that they can give themselves permission. I think that's such valuable advice.
Yeah. And that's honestly a huge part of why we love having conversations like this with people mm-hmm. like you and with each other, because we're all in that same boat together mm-hmm. and we all at least have like an inkling that, hey, maybe it doesn't have to be that way. Mm-hmm. And our community around that is growing, and that's mm-hmm. so powerful by itself too.
And especially as women, we don't have to do anything anymore. My mom was just telling me the other day that when she graduated high school, my family was asking her older brother, my uncle, so what college do you want to go to? And when my mom said, well, what college should I go to? They said, oh no, you'll just be such a good mommy. Mm. And she was. She got married at 19, had 4 kids, did the mom thing, and now all of her kids are grown and done, and she's like, so what am I doing now?
So what college should I go to?
Yeah. The other day we were talking about it, and she's like, nobody even asked me. Or my aunt, her sister. Yeah. Nobody even asked them, what do you want to go do? Right. Neither of them. And so I think it is the best time ever to be a female.
Absolutely.
Because not only are people asking us what we want to do, but they're demanding that we go do it. Mm-hmm. I just listened to Abby Wambach's book, Wambach?
One of those.
She's from the USA team. I just listened to her book the other day, you guys, and I wept through it. I was on the treadmill. It was a 75-minute listen, so I just did it during a 90-minute workout. And I listened on the treadmill, and I had goosebumps. I was crying. I texted my friend who recommended the book to me, and I was like, why am I so emotional? She's like, I cried through the whole thing, And she says, be grateful for what you have, demand what you want. Mm. And I was like, it was like a week after I heard it, because as a female, when you demand things, you're an aggressor. You're mm-hmm. aggressive. Right. And it's like, okay. And when people used to tell me I was bossy or aggressive, I'd be so self-conscious. It would make me feel an inch tall.
Shame.
Oh, I've got to stop doing that. I've got to stop, And then I was like, wait, but I'm the one in the room that's getting everything done. So I think I'm going to just keep doing me and just whatever about it. And Abby Wambach's book, she goes on and on and on about how if you feel that way, you've got to keep going. She made a really cool reference about when she first started playing for a USA team, she pretended to not be as good at soccer as she was because she was afraid people wouldn't like her. And then one day she was like, oh, they need me to be this. Right. They need me to be myself. And that's how she became the team captain and went on to score more international goals than any athlete, not just female, but any athlete in the world. And she graduated, I think she's at 184 international goals in her career. It's unbelievable.
Wow.
And it was one of those things where I was listening to it. And when I got done listening to it, I felt like a better person.
Yeah.
And I hope so much that like one person will hear this, one woman will hear this, one girl come show up to our spin class and just feel like a complete badass after because she's able to be herself.
Yeah.
And that book just, oh my gosh, I got home and I was like weepy about it for hours. And I replayed a couple of the chapters and you don't have to. It's such a good time to be a woman. You can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
You can do whatever you want.
I love it.
I love it.
I know.
I would even add one thing to what you said earlier, because just to piggyback on that story, I just found out this year, I know I'm super late to the game, my mom wasn't allowed to play sports in high school. It wasn't a thing. They said women were too fragile. So it wasn't just her. Wow. It was like there were no girl sports. And this was in, like the 60s. Like that recent.
That was literally 5 minutes ago.
I know. And I literally, I felt like such a spoiled brat when she told me that because I grew up playing sports my whole life and I didn't know that. I didn't know what a privilege it was, right?
That's crazy.
So I just wanted to piggyback because I think it's so true. If you've seen somebody else do it, you know it can be done. But sometimes even if you haven't seen somebody do it, you know, you can still give yourself permission and be the first one to do it. You know, that's so inspiring.
And isn't it funny? You've said it twice now during this talk about giving yourself permission. Yeah. I've never thought of that before. Like, oh, you have to allow yourself to be able to go do things. Like, yeah, that's wild.
Well, I appreciate you pointing that out because through this whole process, so listeners of the show may know, but it basically started by us saying, okay, we are successful in our fields, but there's these pieces of ourselves we haven't explored yet. So we're going to go record an album. And the thing, I didn't think that would be shocking to people. And a lot of people that knew me pretty well seemed very surprised.
Surprised at which part of it? That you went and did it?
That I did it. That I wanted to do it. That it had been, I don't know, that like we just did it. That we found the time. Again, I didn't think that would be surprising. And so what I kept hearing from people over and over again is like, oh, that you really can give yourself permission, right? Yeah. And at first, I think I was a little offended by that. I don't know. In a weird way, I was like, well, I guess we did just give ourselves permission.
We did.
Yeah.
And that's fine.
Yeah. And it's interesting because even that speaks to like the dynamic you were just talking about where we so often we make ourselves smaller around other people. Like, oh, well, I've got to fit in. I don't want to bother you. I don't want to upset you.
I do it chronically.
Yeah, we all do, you know, but it's like, even with that, it's like, if you find yourself operating that way in, you know, whatever your context is, like, you can give yourself permission to be yourself. Yeah. You can give yourself permission to do something new. Yeah. You know, that's outside of your established wheelhouse or whatever, you know.
You know, it's funny. I actually came into my, like what I call my alpha confidence, being on a tour bus with a bunch of dudes because they let me be in charge. Yes. And when I first started with them, I thought it was going to be the type of situation where like they ran the ship and I just was like running around behind them. And I can't tell you how many times on tour they would tell promoters or tell venues like, whatever she says, she's in charge. And it's so empowering as like a female to have a group of dudes, which sucks because a group of women can give you that same permission and you're like, okay. Yeah. But having all these like grown men who this is what they do for work say like, no, she's got it, really was like the first time where I stepped into my role of being like, oh, I do got it. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I got it. And them trusting me with that kind of stuff. And at the confidence that it built all those years. Of course, I didn't know how to be a tour manager. I just talked to Kevin about this the other day because I was like, you let me like tour manage your whole band. I never did it before and you're crazy. He's like, oh, I need to figure it out. You know? And I was like, oh. And I just think that's so cool to be able to like look back and be like, oh, the dudes helped me do that. Because they didn't have to. They could have been like, Natalie, go count money or whatever.
Yeah.
And they let me be in charge of like huge operations. And so when I came off the road, I was like, well, if I could do that, then surely I can do anything.
Yeah.
You know?
I love that.
Your capacity to figure it out, you know, like.
It's almost a game at that point.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
Like, oh, I got to, I guess. They're all waiting for me to do it. So I gotta go back here and do it.
Yes.
So fun. Yeah. It was crazy.
Experiences so like that help us not to underestimate it the next time. You know?
The next time for sure. Cool. Yeah. Yes.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for sharing all of this with us.
Yes.
Is there anything we haven't asked you about that you wanted to talk about?
You know, I do want to say, because I wanted to make sure that I really drove this home, that like, if you are planning on doing it, the one advice my dad as a serial entrepreneur, and when he passed away in 2012, he owned 13 LLCs, something like that.
That's awesome.
Y'all, my sister Mina's in the room. She's the best. And that's who I was just asking that question to, not the girls. They don't know. But my dad had LLCs.
Mina has helped hold this whole day together.
Literally just holding it down. He would always say, when he passed away, he owned all these LLCs. And he would always tell me, he'd say, if you wait for the right time, it'll never be the right time. If you wait to have enough money, you're never going to have enough money. If you wait to feel ready, you are never going to feel ready. So just jump. And him and I had, he was Middle Eastern, and there's some Arabic proverb, I guess, I don't know what to call it, that doesn't translate well into English, but I use it. It says, there's only one way into the pool and the stairs aren't it. And I say that to people and they're like, cool. Oh. What are you doing in the pool? What? And I tell my family all the time, I'm like, should we do this? I'm like, it's only one way into the pool, y'all. Like I say it all the time. And he would always say that. I remember when my older sister was trying to decide if she wanted to have her first baby, he kept saying, if you wait to have enough money, you're never going to have enough money. If you wait. And so I just have never had the capacity to wait for anything ever. I'm the most impatient. I can't wait for my salad at lunch. I'm like, why is this taking so long? And I think that's really given me like that like entrepreneurial advantage where I'm like, just go hard. Like the other day, one of my instructors said, so the first couple weeks we're open, are you going to do like a minimal schedule while we kind of ease into it? And I was like, ease into it? What do you mean? I was like, no, first day we're open, we're going to have a full schedule on the calendar. And she was like, oh, okay. I just don't really like have the slow-mo thing really. And so whatever speed you function at as an entrepreneur, just go a little faster. Like if you know that you go slow or you go medium, just kick it in. I tell my cycling classes all the time, I know you can go just a little bit faster, and you won't believe how many legs you can watch speed up at the same time. They didn't know they could go faster until you said it, and then they're like, oh yeah, I am kind of going slow. So if you're in the process and it's taking you 6 months to get that Instagram up and running on your business, or to go down and pay for your LLC, like knock it off. Nobody's coming to save you. Nobody's going to do this for you. You have to do this for yourself. Go do it right now. If you're waiting for a sign, this is it. Yes. Go do it.
We're going to link to all the stuff with Cycle Haus, and we just wish you all the best with the opening. And
yes,
we need to get our butts in a class.
You guys, please. And we'll do like some kind of Doing Scary Things Instagram live field trip into Cycle Haus. Mina will come and do the
Mina will be there.
Can you style us during the ride?
Yes.
Yeah, she'll do power ponies. That's what
I need that. I need that.
A power ponytail?
Oh, yeah.
You pick the color.
Yeah.
She does this. She keeps my red fresh.
Yes.
Yeah, she's the best.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, everybody
Thanks,
come see Natalie. And thank you.
Thank you guys so much.
Thanks for joining us today. If you like what you heard, please subscribe, share with a friend, and follow us on social media. You can find more info and links in our show notes. And don't forget to check out our new single, Good Man, under the band name Jasper and Jade on Spotify. I'm going to call a pause because whatever that is.
What the heck is that?
I don't know.
That's a new one.
That's a new one.